I hate to make everyone wait while we're letting other folks join. They can catch up as they get here, I'm sure. So, welcome all again. I'm excited to chat with you today about the topic of collaboration and where Microsoft in 365 is gone with collaboration today and where it's going. Even we'll share a bit about the future as well. But just as a quick introduction, I'm Jason Anderson. It's nice to again present to you. I shared this picture for a very specific reason. I'm one day back from Cabo San Lucas. This was down off of the beach. So if I slip up or am a step slow, please forgive me in advance because I'm still kind of getting back to the groove of actually working. But one other thing from a housekeeping perspective, as you have questions, please feel free to just enter them into the Q&A panel. And I'll try to take as many of them as I can afterwards. And if I can't get to your questions, we can always email and chat afterwards for sure. But that's probably the most important thing. I'm looking at the participant panel. We've had a few others join, and it's nice to see familiar faces. So welcome all. This is the presentation I'll be giving at the APMP Bid and Proposal Conference here in Dallas. I'm based in Dallas. It's here in Dallas this month. It's actually just a couple weeks away. So this becomes sort of an opportunity for me both to share what I'll be sharing there, but also give me a chance to practice it. And being from Dallas, I always enjoy seeing whenever anyone markets to us, whether it be the NFL or what have you, they always present all these folks on horseback, and I have lived here now for 30 years and I've yet to see anyone in Dallas ride a horse. But regardless, on that topic of horses, this topic of Microsoft collaboration isn't a brand new topic. It isn't our first rodeo, so to speak, to keep that theme going. We actually presented way back in 2015 to the APMP Nor'easter Conference, a comparable presentation then of where collaboration was going. It's a completely different presentation now as things have really obviously advanced since then. I wanted to start with this thought. You know, many folks either use or previously used Google Docs, and in the presentation, I'm going to ask the question why. The answer is always the same, though. It's because Google Docs allows us to collaborate in real time, and we can't do that in Word. I get that today when I'm presenting and talking about Word and how our solutions work within Word. But the fact is, that at that time, I wanted to share this. I love this little graphic. Is it going to play? Is it going to scroll? Okay, great. Sort of. When I first saw that, it really did. I loved Google Docs and what it did. It just blew my mind. But like I said, it's a bit of history in the fact that concept of Google having some additional capabilities of real-time co-authoring or real-time sharing that Microsoft doesn't have. That's where the history is kind of has changed a bit. You know, Word today allows multiple people within the same document at the same time across multiple device types, some online, some offline, and has obviously a superior platform from a word processing and capabilities within this tool. So really, where Microsoft has gone already and where it's going is really impressive with in the terms of collaboration and where this might go. So just on that topic of Word online versus offline, I shared this slide just because it's still worth mentioning that the online version of Word remains still a limited version of Word, if you will. A little bit like Google Docs was a limited word processor. Microsoft on the online platform can't do everything that they can do on the on-premise platform of Word. So this is just a list of things that are still missing and are likely to remain missing from Word online. But let's talk about co-authoring a bit, right? So you may have seen this. This graphic is actually from that original presentation when this was still kind of new topics then, to say, wow, multiple people in the same document at the same time. These are called presence icons or presence indicators, where we can see where other people are in the document with us at the same time. It's really, again, not brand new, but I just wanted to make sure that I've pointed out that fact that that capability exists, and that's how it looks. If you wanted to see all the contributors, you can click that little indicator. You'll see the little bubbles popping up at the top as individuals are joining your document. And even as you'll see, Deborah Berger here is on multiple devices in the same document, right? But I click the little down arrow or that little plus sign at the top, and I can see all of the contributors. This, by the way, Microsoft supports up to 99 simultaneous editors of that document at the same time. So what's involved with getting there? How do you get a document to be allowed to be shared in real time, collaborated on, or having contributors in there real time with you? It's sort of a three-pronged, kind of three-leveled set of requirements. You've got to have that document saved to the cloud, one of the Microsoft cloud platforms, whether that's SharePoint or OneDrive or Microsoft Teams. And then, of course, you've got to have those applications, whether that be Word or Excel or PowerPoint, and then a document, a file itself, whether that be like a Word or Excel or PowerPoint document. That's sort of the three-pronged approach that's required to allow people to be in that same document. So in my example with that Word document, clearly that document was saved likely on OneDrive or maybe on SharePoint. And that's how I was able to get all of those 99 contributors in that document at that same time. So let's talk about the platforms just a bit more, and I'll get into more exciting stuff. This is sort of just laying the foundation, I think. But the platforms themselves are a key point a key piece of the puzzle. The first thing I want to talk about is OneDrive. There's some, I don't say confusion, but there's some questioning around, hey, why would I use OneDrive? Why would I use SharePoint, or where do they fit kind of from one to the next? I guess I think it's best for me to think or to explain the file sharing applications if you're using OneDrive, the concept there, or the real emphasis, if you could think, is sharing simultaneously within a small group. And I kind of think of OneDrive, when I share a document via OneDrive, as sort of a work in progress singular document, right? So I'm sharing this document with a small group of people, or a medium-sized group, whatever, a group of people, but it's not about a document that we're envisioning going back and forth for years to come. I think of SharePoint, I emphasize or think of SharePoint as a platform where we can share a file with the team on an ongoing basis. I think of it like a collaboration site to collaborate over a long term, not just over a document or a singular point of activity. These two things go hand in hand. OneDrive sits on top of SharePoint and brings some interesting capabilities as well. And as I mentioned, right, OneDrive allows me to, within Word, I can click that share button, and immediately Microsoft will pop up the option to say, hey, you need to save this document to OneDrive, and then I can immediately thereafter invite collaborators to join that document and contribute as needed for that proposal, possibly. So let's talk a bit about syncing with the OneDrive app and how that might work. So OneDrive has the option to download a desktop application that works right within the File Explorer of Windows. So it looks like working with a cloud file makes it just as easy as working with an online file, right? And you can see that right here with my little icons here showing these documents being synced with SharePoint or synced with OneDrive. OneDrive also brings the capability of having an offline or online capability, right? And so if you wanted to sync folders with the OneDrive app, it's pretty simple. You just open the SharePoint site you want to sync, navigate to the desired folder, and then click sync. If the sync feature, by the way, in your world, if you go to look at SharePoint and see that your sync option isn't presented, you may either have an older version of SharePoint, or you may have some restrictions from your IT team that you could ask to have changed to allow you to do so. The icons they present within that view, by the way, are pretty powerful, pretty helpful to know exactly kind of where things are at. The sync icons kind of show the status of the files. Again, your IT department might restrict you from using files offline, but if a file's offline, that means that a copy of that file is on your local computer. Even if you have no internet connection, you can use that file. It's very useful, but the challenge is, the problem can be that if the file's offline when you're editing it, obviously we've got the opportunity to be out of sync or having conflicting versions of this document when you connect later. So a good practice there would be to have it selected as that clear space. So that sort of forces that online only, if you will, to ensure that the files are remaining in sync as we go. The little icon shows us exactly kind of again that status of that file as we're looking at it. So this is kind of where I think transition. I think that's where the topics get more interesting, at least to me, is talking about Teams and where Microsoft has gone and is going with collaboration via Teams. It's really kind of crazy stuff. So I'm sure probably several of you are using Teams right now. It was introduced back in 2017, and it's really just popularity has gone through the roof. I was an immediate I don't know. I was a laggard. I was slow to adopting the concept of Teams. I'm thinking, wait a second, it sits on top of SharePoint, and I've not been a historic SharePoint fan. I was very slow to look at it, but I've been very, very impressed with where they've gone with Teams. Teams integrates the full Office suite, right? And it has everything from SharePoint to OneDrive to any app of Office 365, along with calendars and planners and chats and auto notifications and video conferencing, sort of everything that we would do like right now via Zoom or all of the other IM apps that have been so popular for so long. Teams has sort of brought all that together in a really, really awesome way. I'll even jump in and show Teams a little bit. I just want to get a little bit further down this topic of Teams, but just to give you a better view of how, or a view of how Teams could be used in the proposal world specifically. So if you're using Teams now, you probably are familiar with the idea of creating a team or inviting members and adding channels, but you might not know what's happening behind the scenes. As I was saying, Teams sits on top of SharePoint. So as I'm creating a team, what's happening kind of behind the scenes is that the app is automatically creates a SharePoint site. A team is a SharePoint site. When you create a channel, that channel is a SharePoint folder, and when you add a file to that channel, it's uploading that file directly to SharePoint. Right, and so that's what's sort of going on behind the scenes, but from a user perspective, we kind of don't care, right? It's to us, it's just beautiful. It's right there in a very easy to use and easy to connect with way. Teams is super customizable. I don't know if you haven't played with it much, I'll share with you the idea that as you're creating these channels, which are like the topics, if you will, or of conversation, that these channels can be quite beautifully customized with adding tabs. You can add tabs and drop in apps, right? So when you go to add a tab, it'll prompt you right away to say, hey, do you want this to be a calendar? Do you want this to be an Excel spreadsheet? Do you want this to be a Word document tab, that is? And it really does this in like I said, a very useful way from a proposal perspective, right? So here's an example where I have shared a Word document on this Big Co channel over here within my TechThink team. This is my team, and this is my Big Co channel. And within that channel, I've created a tab for the proposal document itself. That was a Word document tab. And I've simply linked that file right back to the team site and allows now real time, anyone who I invite to this Teams channel, to this team and to this channel, I can have their participation directly right here through Teams on this Word document, which is just, like I said, super awesome in a proposal collaboration sense. Likewise, when it comes to things like proposal management topics about maybe assignments that you've made or progress that you're making on the RFP itself, another channel could be added with an Excel spreadsheet in this case. And I'm showing now sort of the idea of again presenting a real-time view of this Excel spreadsheet. I mean, these are just a few examples, but I'm sure you get the idea. Teams has really added reach to these desktop apps that used to be sort of siloed in their own kind of corners. We all had access or emailed things back and forth, right? This gives a real-time, not just view, but real-time opportunity to interact with these again desktop apps in a super powerful way for proposals. There's a little bit of confusion though, or maybe, I don't know if it's confusion, maybe it's sort of a debate that you could say what's the best way of organizing teams. And I'll show, this is where I'll pop over into teams real quickly and kind of make this hopefully more obvious. But there's two sort of different schools of thought, and both are absolutely appropriate. Both are perfect for different ways or in different ways. You can either organize your proposal team around channels within a singular team, or you could create multiple teams to organize your proposals, right? And so why might you do one versus the other? Well, I'll tell you what, let me just go ahead and flip over to teams if I can get there quickly. Of course I can. Right, so here's teams, right? And now what I've done here in this example, what we've done, it's actually set up for me, so I don't want to take credit because the person who's actually done it is probably going to be either on this or we'll be listening to it later. In this case, I've created a team called TechThink, my pretend kind of proposal team, if you will. And within that TechThink team, I've got channels now where I'm supporting specific bids or opportunities. I've even created a channel that's my general channel that shows sort of my overview of what RFPs I have in flight and where they're at. And it can be done in a number of different ways, this idea of the overview. Right, this view here is sort of a simple list that I've just created a kind of a table or a grid that says, hey, here are our proposals, here's who's managing them, when they're due, and what have you, what their statuses are, etc. These other channels I have are channels around the opportunities themselves. And you'll notice that this opportunity for BigCo, I've got several posts that we've made. I've got the files that we've received from the customer or that we're preparing internally, et cetera. The actual RFP itself, I've posted to, again, as a Word doc out here in Teams. That Excel spreadsheet example I was showing a moment ago of our in-flight sort of due dates and activities. This is that first example, however, of sort of having the team as the organization for my proposal team, and then the channels are within that team are for the proposals themselves, the opportunities themselves. Conversely, I could have had multiple team sites that have, again, this is for the opportunity, could be around the teams. So going back to the idea that's presented here in my presentation, if you've got, again, a varying group of participants, right, those different teams that can invite different people to contribute and have a little bit more control or variability, if you will, around the people that are involved with each of those individual channels or the team sites themselves, right? So it's two different ideas or two different approaches of the organization of those team sites. So let's just kind of transition a bit here. So the @mention function, if you've not seen this is pretty awesome, right? This is this really provides the opportunity for us to give real-time notification and connection. So as I'm working within a document, it allows me to simply hit the @ sign on a comment, or put the @ character, if you will, within the chat window or within a comment, and it presents me immediately with a list of email addresses via Exchange. So real time, you hit the @ sign, the @ symbol within this document. If this document was saved again to OneDrive or to SharePoint, when I go into to the comment feature or the add a comment, if I hit the @ symbol like we've done here, you'll see that popped up list of our contributors immediately, or pop up a list of individuals who are on Exchange. I could type a few letters of their name and quickly find the person I want to comment in this document or mention in this document. The cool thing is that gives them an immediate real-time sort of notification. It's not exactly immediately, it's a few moments later, but very quickly they get a note saying, hey, Jason Anderson left a comment for you in this BigCo RFP document, right? And so as that individual gets this email, they can immediately click through and go right back into the document again, either online or on premise or however they chose to connect with that document. So when it comes, if part of your challenges involve notifying people, letting them know, bringing them into a document, inviting them to contribute, the @mention is a really cool way of doing so. So I talked about things getting more exciting, and translation is what I was specifically thinking about. This has really blown my mind. I talked about just coming back from Mexico, and I just used this to communicate with the young lady that was cleaning or servicing the room, just because I was having a bit of a language barrier, right? But where this has gone is just cool. I used to think of translation like this would be the image that came to my mind, all right, of someone who's listening and is a multilingual person, and they're doing this direct translation. And I found this other image down here, and I thought, what is this guy doing? He's like he's the technology laggard as well. He's not going to embrace the newfangled headset technology. But that's how I thought of translation, right? Of this sort of very I don't know, manual and clunky sort of process, but that's really changed, right? And even back in, I think 2016, this feature started to become available. I think that's the first version that had the translation capability. Where in this example, this allows me to, on that review tab of Word, to select a piece of text that I have within my document and in real time translate that on that little right-hand pane that pops up that says, hey, here's the piece of text in English. There's the same piece of text in the language of my choice, and have again of a real-time view of kind of how to again translate this information. That same thing can be done at a document level as well, right? I could take an entire proposal document and use this to translate from one language to the next. Translator today supports up to 90 languages and dialects within this translation capability. It's pretty cool. But it's also kind of static. So now let's talk about PowerPoint. I say static, meaning again, it's just text. It's text. It's written text, and I'm doing a kind of a one-time or a manual translation. But within presentations, and then I'll talk about Teams again here in a second, but within presentations, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but you can have real time, as I'm presenting in language 1, subtitles that translate to language number 2. Right, and I've got a video that I will see if, I don't think I turned on sound. Let me see if I can share sound so that you might actually hear what's going on as well as see. Let me show you here. This next image here, I've stole this little clip from YouTube. So I should have probably given the guy credit of whose YouTube it was from, but I didn't. I just wanted to show you this capability. Here's a presenter who's presenting in Dutch and has an English speaking audience that he's going to translate for.
So let's get started. Welkom bij mijn presentatie in PowerPoint. Dit is een demonstratie van die functie binnenin PowerPoint die automatisch vertaalde ondertitelingen zal toevoegen aan de presentatie.
Now, I don't know if you find that as crazy awesome as I do, but I find that crazy awesome, right? That I could be presenting in language 1, have individuals who are receiving this in language 2, and the way they can consume my presentation, connect with what I'm presenting. It's cool. Where this can go is kind of far-reaching, right? This application, I mentioned my hotel application a moment ago. Here's a much more powerful example where using Teams, in this example, a principal has multiple parents on multiple devices that they need to communicate with. And then as they're speaking again in language 1, English, parent number 1 receives that information in German, parent number 2 receives that information in Chinese. And again, I just find this to be tremendously exciting and kind of unlocking some of these barriers that we can have. I mean, whether that be in this example, again, multiple parties and but even within your organization or within your proposal team, as you have, we have these global communities that we work within, right? This gives us the opportunity to connect in ways that English only may not always facilitate. So where's it going from here? This is my what's happening next, my Back to the Future slide. I've got a couple of different, right, what I now understand or think of as kind of dated references within this PowerPoint presentation. I was sharing this with my sales team just yesterday as I was going through what I'm about to present, and a couple of these the folks were didn't connect with. They didn't like what's going on. They knew this one, but they didn't know the next one. So what's happening next? Word is going to allow in the near future, real-time translation of text as I'm working on a document. So each editor in this case are able to see the same document and make their edits in their own language. And this is going to support immediately or very soon, if not now, up to 60 languages kind of out of the gate. Will allow to begin real time. I'm working in language 1, you're working in language 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and I get up to 60 within that same document at the same time. This again is just really mind-blowing to me of where this, what doors this unlocks as far as a team and collaborating. We all know web conferencing and video conferencing as well, and that's awesome. It's become a staple with what we've gone through recently with the pandemic. The idea of being able to connect in this way virtually, but there's some kind of limitations that are immediately obvious here. That as I'm chatting with these individuals on a smaller team, it's fine, but as the participant group grows, it could get very difficult to see everyone at the same time. There's a gallery view, right, that allows a larger group, up to 48 people could be on this view, this gallery view within Teams. But even that, again, that creates some I don't want to say clunkiness, but just limitations in how I can interact with or feel like I'm connected with these people individually. That's where they come up with this together mode. You may have seen this or play with this or use it yourself now, but this is another way of viewing the group, viewing the team. And according to Microsoft, this Teams together mode feature eliminates the traditional boxes and the creating of social, it creates a feeling of cohesion amongst the teams, right? So it's a little bit of psychology here, as well as a little bit of opportunity to interact in a different way that allows us to really feel more connected and comfortable and natural during a video call, is the idea. Natural during video calls, to me, is not always the case, and I'm the world's extrovert. You'd think of anyone, I'd be no problem with it, but this idea of having my video on, right? I'm more often than not just default to video off because I can drink coffee and make notes and scratch my nose and whatever without feeling like I'm on display too much, right? But where they're going here very soon, and I don't know, everything's moving so quickly now, month to month. Teams is growing and changing, but they're providing the opportunity of replacing yourself real time. As I'm moving, my avatar can interact and nod my head and give my heart hands like this thing is doing, and her little reaction to whatever he must be saying that's lovely, I'm sure, right? But again, so again, just giving other ways of helping folks feel more comfortable, feel more able to connect with and contribute in a way that's meaningful from a collaboration perspective. Avatars are pretty cool. Other things, there's a whiteboard. Well, a new whiteboard function inside of Teams, which is effective, but admittedly a bit clunky. It's not all things it could be, right? Where it's going. And this is where I talked about my dated references. My sales team had no idea what I was talking about. Back in the days, anyone who was of the age to have watched Star Trek: The Next Generation, they had the holodeck. I don't know how, I always pronounce it anyway, the holodeck. That was a room inside of their spaceship that you could go in and have all of these holographic environments created for you. That's very much what Microsoft is doing within what they're calling Mesh. And Mesh is going to be an area for our avatars and even for some augmented reality, where we have individuals that are themselves, or other individuals that are avatars, or even objects, right? That allows us to again interact with each other again in a holodeck-like platform that allows us to again communicate and collaborate in just different ways. So those are the main things I want to talk about. This Mesh is cool stuff as well. This little GIF that goes so quickly drives me crazy, so I'll go quickly off of it. This is my slide that I'll end with out at the at the APMP presentation as well, inviting folks to stop by our booth. Anyone who may be on this presentation that are coming, I'd invite you to do the same as well. Hey, stop by and say hello to us in person. I'll be there with my two sales colleagues that'll be there with me, and those are the folks that didn't know my dated references. So so you could kind of project age differences or what have you along there. But yeah, please do stop by. These are interesting times for collaboration within Microsoft, and more now than ever. I'm so excited about the fact that, you know, way back when Expedience started, our founder had the vision of leveraging and embracing a word. They say, hey, this is where people are working right now. And I don't know if she had the foresight to know where this might go at that time, or if it's just a kind of an act of a stroke of luck, so to speak. But what they're doing now, what Microsoft is doing when it comes to collaboration, translation, bringing people together, tearing down those walls, bringing contributors, et cetera, and customers and sales agents together, really has created an awesome platform from a proposal community perspective, and our tools living within that same platform is an exciting thing as well. So I will just quickly look to see if I've got any questions that have popped up, but that's all of my content. I didn't know it took me 30 minutes to get through. That's pretty awesome. I've got a 45-minute session planned there at APMP, so I'll have the ability to quickly connect there. And I don't have a single question out here, and I didn't even invent any big questions that I might share with you to dig in a little deeper. But that would allow us to all get a few minutes of our time back today. That is the presentation I wanted to share with where Microsoft is at. Please reach out to me if you have other thoughts. Oh, wait a second, I have other thoughts coming in. How does the Teams platform handle template and DOCM files? So yeah, so the Teams platform beautifully allows the extension of even more complex document types, like macro-enabled documents or DOTM template files. The macro-enabled document template files can be shared also via Teams. It's again, that individual who's contributing to that document on the online version will be again limited in their ways of collaborating within the document, but certainly even those more again intense or macro heavy or capable documents are nicely shared via Teams as well. Just give a half second to see if maybe any other questions pop up before I was about to just go, hey, everyone, adios, and then a question pops up immediately. So I want to just give a second, but I assume that maybe this is such again an awesome topic that has blown everyone's mind that they need a moment to think of more questions. And if that's the case, again, please feel free to reach out to me afterwards. And again, if you're coming to APMP, I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. But other than that, everyone, have an awesome day, and thank you for joining our user group session. Talk soon.